What is up, YouTube? It's me, your boy Mike D with the Whack and Shack, back at it again. This is installment 1 of the tool restoration series. Today, I'm going to show you how to take a badass old school Ohio tool company plane that started off like this and restore into a wood shaven hog, hopefully, that looks like this. She's seen her days. She's older than most of your damn grandparents, but by God, we're going to put her through the paces and hopefully we have a nice badass tool to set on the wall. Stick around. What is up, YouTube? It's me, Mike D, back here at the Whack and Shack. I've been waiting to start this series for a long time. As most of you guys know, I'm a total tool nerd, especially when it comes to old school hand tools. If you've been following the community tab on the YouTube page, I've got some parts here soaking in some vinegar for the restoration of this process. And today, we're going to restore some tools. Stick around. Alright, so we got our parts here soaked in vinegar overnight. Just regular white vinegar. Smells absolutely just damn rancid. But if you look down here in the bottom of it, a lot of the rust and corrosion and stuff like that start to come off this. So this is exactly what we want. Today, we're actually going to restore a rather old Ohio Tool Company triplane. So we're going to try to get the majority of this surface rust off here with a wire brush. We're not going to go too crazy with it. We'll hit this with some sandpaper. Good thing is it don't look like the bevel on this is 2/8 up. So I don't think this will actually take forever, ever. And we should be able to make a really cool restore out of this. Look at that steel. Set that off the side for a minute. Now we're going to come over to the chip breaker and give it some love. Because God knows it needs it. Alright, for this next part, it's really imperative that you have a flat surface. That's one of the reasons why I put this piece of wood on top of my actual desktop here. Like, it is flat all the way across. And it might seem like we're going to start off kind of aggressive with this, but I assure you we're not. Just to clean up the outside edge of this, we're going to take some 120, hit this bad boy with some WD-40, and we're going to give it some pulls in a linear direction just to get that stuff moving. Don't go backwards and forwards, you're going to scuff your blade up real bad. This should be pretty good, and the edge on it is actually not as bad as I thought it was. So that's a plus. We are not going to take the sandpaper anywhere near the outside bevel of this. But up here on the very edge of the blade, we will go side to side to remove the buildup on the bottom. Worst case scenario, I do have a fine-tooth file to use for this. Now we do have some rather rough rust right here, but this down here is smooth. Got some discoloration in the metal, but that is smooth to the touch, and that's what we want. This other side over here needs a prayer. Now, this side up here, you can tell that it's had some rough love dealt to it. It's peened over, which is pretty common with these, but I could file that back to where it's presentable. However, on this side right here, that's got the old Ohio Tool Company logo stamped into it. It's kind of crooked, which adds a little bit of character. So I want to preserve that as much as possible. So I'm going to go get some other tools so we can take care of that. Blade. Bolt that holds the two together. So I am going to have to give this side a little bit of love right here and right here. But we were able to keep the Ohio Tool Company logo stamped in there. All right, I'm going to clean off the bench and get the wooden body parts over here so I can explain those to you and let y'all see exactly what we got to do to those. All right, so here we have the main body of the plane. It's not too bad. It's got some cracks in it, but they're not in any of the key stressor places. Somebody's went ahead and put a plate in the bottom here. I don't think that actually came from the Ohio Tool Company, but it's not god awful on the bottom, but we are going to have to I guess lop that to where it's flat. Kind of pointless in having a plane if you can't keep it flat. The hide glue that they used on the handles gave way to time. Handle's in pretty good shape. I have to round this off a little bit back here, sand this down to where I can get a real good fit, update the glue a little bit. The wedge is in really good shape. It's got the UV lines, which kind of goes to show that this wedge is the actual original wedge that came with this plane. And our button up here isn't in that bad a condition, so I believe we'll be able to save that. It is missing a little piece out of the top of it, but it's not worth drilling that entire button out because that's the original button that came with it. Other than that, the body of this seems to be in pretty good condition, so we're going to give her a go. Take a little bit of boiled linseed oil. We're going to put on the wedge here. Lay us out a piece of shop towel here. Triple aught steel wool, my bad. And just go over that. It's going to remove as much as the loose impurities as we can without being too abrasive and actually removing any original wood. We want to see what we're working with, and honestly, this stuff right here, if it's smooth and it's embedded in the wood, we're not even going to worry about taking that out of there because it's too risky to remove it from the wood. The way this sits, and your blade rides against it, the front part of this wedge right here will actually never make contact with. If you look at the wear and tear on the edge of this, it looks like somebody went batshit crazy with an actual hammer, but those are all the things that add just those little bits of character to old tools like this. And as long as they stay in working order, you never really want to remove all the character unless you got like something stupid, crazy rare. That's the cool thing about these old hand planes, especially the wooden triplanes and the coffin planes, stuff like that. Unless you got something that's like crazy rare or anything like that, they don't really have a whole lot of monetary value. But to guys that use them and restore them, they mean the world. But a good bit of the meaning is the history and the story behind each one of them. So yeah, it might look like a sweet find in an antique shop or something like that to a lot of you people. And hell yeah, I mean, it'd be a cool centerpiece or conversation starter on your coffee table in your man cave. But I can guarantee you, worldwide, there's still a metric shit ton of these that people have kept going just because when they're running, they run like a dream. That's pretty well taken down. Any of the discoloration that's left on there is actually in it, so like I said earlier, I'm going to let that be. Now we're going to start working on the handle. And you can see the line right here where it's set down in the frame. Don't pass that line going up into here with the sandpaper. Just try to knock some of that funk off there and that dry glue. So when we go to reglue it, we can get a decent purchase with our glue. I always thought the handle on these, the tote, as they're called, was so cool. And I really like the way that a lot of the Stanley planes, they carried that curve into the more modern designs. A lot of people believe that the Stanley planes are some super vintage tool, but they've only been around for like 150 years, and in the grand scope of woodworking and all that stuff, it's fairly new. These wooden body planes, they go back, hell, if you really want to look at it, some of them go back thousands of years. This is made by the Ohio Tool Company, like I said earlier. Called a Scioto plane, or a Scioto. It's their Scioto line, which was kind of like their budget line, which is also kind of cool because I live in Lawrence County and Scioto County is the neighboring county, even though they were made nowhere near that. But this used to be like premier stuff if you were like doing real carpentry work and stuff like that. And hand tool stuff, you want an Ohio plane. They kind of cornered the market there for a while. And then I believe it was in 1927 they just kind of fell off the face of the earth, or maybe shut their doors. I don't know. Maybe they were bought out. History gets kind of murky on them. But pretty cool. I know they were based out of Columbus and New York at a couple different times. And like I said earlier, whether you're going to use it, which I have every intention of doing, or set it on your wall as a relic from the past or a conversation starter, they're just something really cool. And I think that everybody should restore at least one in their life, just to have an appreciation of what goes into it. It's simple, but the science of it is, it's really just innovative for what it was. And if you think about it, like, we have $1,000 and several $1,000 planes these days that will bust stuff down to the 1,000th of a, within 1,000th of a degree of an angle. And these dudes are out here with a piece of beach with a damn chunk of metal stuck in it and a wedge holding it in place, and they were shaving down stuff to make cabins and some of the coolest pieces of furniture ever built. This particular one, if this handle is the correct handle that goes with it, and I think it is, and given the overall length of it, is what they would call a triplane. It was mainly used for planing down stuff for joining, but it could also be used for planing down stuff for squaring up and flattening because of the size of it. It could be used for 3 different purposes given the try. Not like I'm going to try to get this damn plane done in this video, but try as in 3. Okay. And now the big girl. All right, y'all. Fun fact. This is a wood frame. Whenever you put this blade and this wedge in this piece of wood, you're going to cause some kind of torsion in there, some kind of stress. So, we've already got the bottom of this marked up. Make sure you can see that. All right, cool. We've already got it marked up. We put this in there so we'd have the actual natural stress that the wood will be under once the block or the wedge and the wood's in there. We've got a piece of 120 in here, and for the next probably 30 to 40 minutes, man, I'm going to run this piece of wood across that piece of sandpaper until I get it even across the entire bottom of it. And then we'll finish the aesthetics of the top of it. we'll sharpen the blade, and we'll see if we can peel a couple shavings with this. So I'll bring it back down here in a second, that way I don't waste a bunch of film with you watching me drag a piece of wood across sandpaper. And by the time we get back here, the bottom of this bad boy should be squared up. Somewhere on this end cap, I think it's this end cap. Hell, it might be the other one. Probably the other one. Yeah, you can sort of kind of maybe see a little bit of the markings on there. I think those are markings, or someone's hit the end of this with a really weird ass hammer. But nevertheless, it's some character, and I'm going to do my damnedest to save it. So we've got the bottom of this. She squared pretty good, actually, for the old sandpaper job. We can take this and this out of here, and now we can work on the aesthetics of all this nonsense up here. So linseed oil, do your thing, and we're gonna hit this bitch with some steel wool. And we're gonna have to lube this heifer up because she's a thirsty girl. She's already drinking it. Don't get any lube down in that hole. As weird as that sounds, that's the one hole you don't want to get lube in. I really think someone just hit the end of that with something crazy. I can see. It looks like it's got Ohio like double stamped on it. Like a misprint or something almost. I don't know exactly what that is, but you can see these, and if you look up here, you can see Ohio like 2 or 3 times. I don't know if that's an error from the factory or what. We'll never really know. Yeah, so give my phone a second to charge up and everything, so it don't die. The next step we're going to is gluing on the handle, and then the sharpening of the blade, which is pretty much the key point of the entire blade. And I really want to do it in depth on how we sharpen a plane blade and how it should be sharpened, and the right way to move through the stones and everything like that. Everybody thinks that you got to like go ahead and profile the plane. You don't have to do that unless it's all 8 up. We lucked out on this one. Our blade isn't 8 up; it's square. So the only thing we should really have to do is sharpen it and stroke it. But when I've got you guys here, a lot of people view these channels, not everybody subscribes. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe. Let us know you're watching. Drop a comment. Tell us you appreciate the video, stuff like that. Secondly, support your local businesses. We don't do this stuff to get rich. We really like it. Support your local YouTube creators if you have any. There's guys like 77 Rockets, Timber Designs, My Honey's Homemade, The Bearded Viking. Guys like them, check out Bearded Viking Woodworks Facebook page and his channel. There's a whole slew of people. It's a really tight-knit community. Swing by every Saturday, myself, along with 77 Rockets. We do just pretty chilled out live stream. Get a good crowd of people in there. While I got y'all here, go ahead and mention it. If you're not a member of the channel yet, consider it. Think about it. I think it's like $1 or $2 a month, stuff like that. All the funds come back into the channel, makes it possible to come and do stuff like this. And like I said earlier, no one's really out here to get hood rich, but it does let us know that you appreciate the content, and it makes it a little bit easier to like hustle up stuff like this to do the restores and get the lumber for the builds and stuff like that. That being said, check out Bones Coffee, check out Peck Tool of Cincinnati, Acmer Lasers, KJP Hardwoods, and I'll list all my other sponsors in the bottom. I've got some badass planes from Peck Tool, EC Emmerich, that will be showing off here soon. And at the end of this, I'll go ahead and give you a little preview of some sweet, badass Ukrainian chisels that finally came in the mail that I'll be using on one of my next videos. So stick around. We'll get into mounting this handle on here and sharpen the blade up. Alright, so we've got this heifer greased up. We're going to put a not crazy, but rather liberal amount of glue in the bottom of that cavity. Take our finger, smear it around. Get it all up on the sidewalls in there. Let that set just for a second. If you'll notice, on these, the front of this is kind of set at an angle. So if you ever go to restore one, don't just sit in there and smash the piss out of it, or you will break it. This entire thing's cut at a very slight angle. We're going to set that in there, make sure we got no squeeze out coming up on the wood we just oiled up. No wobble. We're going to set her off to the side, let her dry, make sure her wedge is up there. Now, here's the crazy part, and this is often where people just lose their shit, and there's really no reason for it. Make sure this whole blasphemous setup's in here. There's two parts to this working blade, and if you're watching this, you probably know it, but just for the sake of the everyday Joe that might be popping in here, this piece right here is called your chip breaker. This is your actual planer blade. Both of these play a key part. This will ride along the wood like this. This will piggyback on top of it, and what that chip breaker does is the curl that comes up, this deflects it, keeps it from rolling along the blade, and it gives it that curl and kind of ejects it out the top. So before we get to the blade, and you got that. And that's fairly sharp. Actually sharper than some plain blades I've seen, so that's plenty enough sharp to do the job. Before we go any further, I'll go ahead and explain what I got here. This is a piece of 600 grit sandpaper. That's just kind of knocking off any excess debris or anything that's left over on the edge of the blade after the cleanup or the initial cleanup. This is an old oil stone. One side's pretty aggressive, but usually don't have to use it. Less aggressive. This is a 400 grit diamond stone. The other side is a 1000 grit diamond stone. This old crusty bastard here is a very, very old, I think it was my grandfather's old school sharpening stone. It's almost like glass. It's so smooth. It's a little bit less abrasive than the 1000 grit on this side. And finally at last, we have a piece of squared wood with a piece of leather stuck to it and some polishing compound that we're going to use for a strobe. You don't have to go out and buy some crazy ass Cat Moses sharpening setup. You can do it with these. Yeah, it'd be nice to have the whole Cat Moses set up, but we're working on a budget here. We want to get the best results with what we can. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay. Our edge here is straight, so we're going to avoid this step. The bottom side right here could use a little bit of love, so we're going to lay it flat. And she's already getting sharp. Hold up for a second, neighbor's swinging by. So, back to where we were. Don't need to really do this one. We do need to pop over and hit this one just a little bit. We clean up the back of the blade just a tad bit. You want to keep it flat and even with the edge of the blade. You don't want to roll your edge or develop any kind of weird, I believe it's called camber or anything like that. Don't roll your edge. All right. Then we're going to come over here to the 400 grit. Give it a little bit of love. And for this, I will be busting out my my jig to give me a constant angle on this. Okay. Then we're going to flip her over to the 1000 side. Grease it up. Okay. Give Grandpa's whetstone some love here. Lay it flat and then lift it up just a tad bit. What we're doing here is we are working on giving this a secondary bevel. If you watch like the fancy woodworking guys, they're going to call that a micro bevel. I've always called it a secondary bevel, and seems to work pretty good. As you're doing this, you're going to develop what they call a wire that rolls over the edge of that. And if you look at, let me see if I can get you up here, right there at the edge of that, you're going to get that. So roll that back that way. And then finally at last, scoot all this nonsense out of the way. We got some compound here on the rough side of a piece of leather. And I believe she is good enough to maybe shave some wood. Because she'll shave hair. Where you go to put these together, you're going to be like super tempted to like smash this down here and pull it back. Don't do that, or you're going to like completely just destroy every bit of what you just tried to get done. Thread your screw in just a tad bit, drop it through that hole, and slide it up to where you've barely got like 32nd of an inch. Alright? Get that little overlap right there. Don't cut your finger off because I might be bleeding now. Tighten it up. Don't go crazy with it. You're not like trying to strongman that shit. Alright. This blade is ready to go down back into the body of our plane. Take your nut. You're going to put it in the notch. Let it slide all the way down there. Take your wedge, set it in there, pull your blade up just a tad bit to where it's not setting on the bevel or on the base below. Hold on to the blade itself and give your wedge a couple taps. Gonna lock it in there. You might have to take your mallet, smack your blade back to knock it center. All right. Now you're gonna flip it over upside down, and then you are going to take your mallet and you're going to strike the metal until it barely protrudes out the bottom. And this is a fairly tight fit, so we might need to use a metal hammer. When you do this, use the cheek of the hammer, not the face or the tongue. Use the cheek. She's a coming, boys. Just a little bit more to the right. And a tad bit more. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've all been waiting for. Will Bertha shave this plank? I'm thinking she will, but let's give her a shot. I'm assuming that like any first run or anything after it's been finally assembled, we're gonna do some adjusting, but I think we should be able to hog some wood off here. So let's give it a shot. Oh wow. Kind of thick. We're gonna give her a couple taps on the ass to back her out just a little bit. Oh, here we go. I like it. All right, so restoration number 1 in the series complete. She's a beaut. She's got place on my wall, like all my tools here that I've worked on, I've restored. She's functional now, so by God, she can be used. And I'd put her against any of the modern day planes that I got. They take a little bit of a learning curve to figure out how to size and adjust the plane. It's nothing that a quick YouTube search can't help you out with, but if you get a chance to restore one of these, it's definitely something you should get into, at least for the historical value of it. I don't care if you use it or not. I think if you use one, you'll be really surprised, but these are super cool. That being said, make sure y'all like, subscribe. Let me know if you're into this whole restoration thing. We've got some more stove soap and vinegar over here. This video should be out before Monday, I believe it's the 3rd. And there'll be a build-along video following that shortly. With that being said, check out the affiliate link, Bones Coffee. Thank you to all my sponsors, everybody like that. Everybody's checked out the channel. I love y'all. Can't thank you enough. Peace. God bless. I'm out.